It's that time of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Monday Night Live on cricket.com. And as usual, the usual candidates in Akshay Kumar Swami and Nikhil Popa joining me in what's going to be a riveting 1 hour chat about all things cricket. And this episode, we're focusing on, yep, you guessed it with the thumbnail, Andy Flower and his appointment at RCB. Lots more to talk about that in terms of coaches, what works out well for RCB as a roadmap from a fan perspective. And we'll also tell you about different things later on in the show, including a Riyan Parag exclusive. You want to hear that? So buckle up and get your snacks, or of course, anything that you satiate during the show to enjoy this even more. I'm in the comfort of my house. So is Nick's, and so is Akshay. I think this is how we're going to go rolling throughout the show. First of all, boys, how are we on this Monday?
The beaming smile from Akshay tells you how happy he is with the coach bits. The week is exactly coach hota hai. So many people going here and there. People have swapped CVs, which is good. CVs and coaches, that is. So let's see how it works out. Very, very interesting times.
Yeah, Akshana, Isala Flower Namde, Cup Namde na.
I actually have a couple of Kannada puns that I want to make, but Chakil, I'll just keep
No,
them
go
out
for
of the
it.
window.
Give me one.
Kivi mele who vittidiva. Either ways, sorry, Nikhil, sorry.
Two puns there with the fact that the Kiwi also kind of departed.
Exactly.
But one second, how are you on a Monday? Because of course we were doing the watch along yesterday. Are you recuperated?
Yep. Two things to be happy about. One, like Nikhil said, Andy Flood, of course, and the men in maroon. For some reason, I've decided to support them for this T20I series, and yeah, glad to see them tonal up. So yeah, I'm pretty relaxed and had to just finish up on the preview for tomorrow's T20. That was a bit, a bit of a I sounded like a bit of a broken record, talking about the same things again and again, like nothing new to talk about. But yeah, all good.
That is Indian cricket. Do the same thing again and again and expect different results.
Exactly. And we'll talk about India and their troubles. We'll talk about Kishan and, of course, Shubman Gill, and whether that particular partnership is just seductive on paper, but actually is it providing results? Lots more. So let's get into, of course, the headline of the show, which is Andy Flower for RCB appointment. What are your first thoughts, gentlemen, with regards to this appointment? This is the third new coach we're seeing in the IPL. Justin Langer going to LSG. We also heard this morning that SRH have appointed Dan Vettori and, of course, Andy Flower. From the offset, Akshay, I'll start with you. Do you like it? Does it sound good in your head? Do you think it'll actually be better than Mike Hesson, who's, to be fair, our best coach ever?
About Mike Hesson being the best coach, sure, yeah, I do agree. He wasn't technically a coach, like his designation was director of cricket operations, but irrespective, yeah, he was an important figure when it comes to when we talk about RCB's turnaround in the last 3-4 years. But last month, when we did hear information reports coming out, that Hesson might be moving out of RCB, Flower was the first name that popped up in my head, and this is before even simply because of his resume, and he is one of the tactically better people. Again, it's not like he's done something out of the blue, but he knows, how to do the basics. He knows how to take care of, matchups and stuff like that. Like Multan Sultans 2021, 2022, both seasons, like this off the top of my head again is something I would like to bring up. Just see how he was, not just the results, just see how Multan Sultans played during the season. And you'll get an idea of what I'm trying to talk about. And of course, yeah, you can see his CV is fairly studded. Playoff finishes pretty much in every league he's been a part of, including the ILT20 this year, where he won with Gulf Giants, and then finalist with Multan Sultans, playoffs again with Lucknow Super Giants. So yeah, he's really been right up there. And also with Lucknow Super Giants, if you remember last year, couple of their recruits, couple of their replacement options that they went ahead with, I was very I was really keen on having him on board for sure. But would he be better than Hesson? Only time will tell us, because Hesson, again, make no mistake, I'll always, as an RCB fan, I'll always be indebted to Hesson. What he did with RCB, given where they were after the 2019 season, we were staring right down at the bottom of the barrel. Like pretty much nothing was going for us. We just had Kohli and AB, and that was it. It was basically how KKR are basically, Russell, Narayan and Inshallah. That was RCB back then. It was just, pray to God after Kohli and AB. And what he did with the squad, with consistency, with recruitment, with the strategy, And consistency, again, being the operative word. Be it playing 11 selections, be it squad selections, be it role clarity, he was very consistent with all of them. He might have gotten them wrong. I'm not going to deny that, but sticking to them. It's all about sticking to your processes. This is something we even spoke during the last episode of Monday Night Live. We don't mind Rohit and Kohli not playing the ODI series and India losing, because Rahul Dravid said that's the process they want to follow. If they are sticking to it, that's what we admire more than just short-term results. So yeah, I'm sorry for this slightly elongated rant. I don't know what to call it, but yeah, I want to close it at this.
It almost feels like he's meditating now in the frame.
Exactly. Oh boy.
Let's
But what do you
please have a screenshot. This
please,
is
Shaunak, do the needful and take a screenshot. It'll definitely be meme worthy and reel worthy. But Nikhil, going to you, what do you think of Andy Flower's recruitment as the RCB coach?
I'll be very honest. I found it surprising. I thought Flower would have had talks with more franchises who I felt needed him far more urgently in terms of their recruitments, and because we knew what was the case at LSG. I mean, it was pretty obvious that Gambhir was the one who was taking maybe more of the calls in terms of authority. And so Justin Langer going there meant Flower was free. Uh, rightly pointed out in terms of the points for SN that what worked. So there were a lot of good process that is set in place. Now I think it is probably a harder thing to do for Flower because those processes were a vision of somebody else.
Yeah.
Now Flower inherits that team, which is not exactly a young team. So very keen to see how he blends that youth and experience, because he is, like we've talked often about Mumbai, Chennai, having a identity of sorts. I think RCB were finally starting to get an identity under Hassan. Hopefully, Flower can, I don't know, blossom.
Yep, fingers crossed. And just before Avnish moves on, apparently Andy Flower was in talks with RR and DC, and these were final stage talks after going on with both teams. And for him to choose RCB over that, I don't know if it's him taking this up as a challenge, or is it a sign of things to come in terms of him being really focused and determined.
Yeah.
Is he stuck
Yeah.
again, or is it my
Oh.
internet?
No. Yeah. Avnish is definitely stuck. I don't know which puns to use. Indian cricket, RCB, or I don't know. So, yeah. Let's wait for Avnish to get back also.
Yeah, or in the meantime, we'll take the
Yeah.
conversation forward.
Yep.
So Hessen's out right now. Andy Flower's in. We're still not sure if
Can
the
you
rest
hear
of
me,
the
guys?
staff.
Because I was
Yeah.
patient.
All right, if you say so.
You were patiently
Manifesting.
I was just being patient.
Yeah.
I was
Manifesting the inner
for my
Rahul
turn
Dravid.
because I was just like, okay, fine. I want to understand one particular thing. What is Andy Flower's philosophy? What is his blueprint? Because you spoke about just right now, Multan Sultan, the philosophy that they had. What is it? Can we kind of pick the bones about it right now? Because every RCB fan wants to know, what's he going to come in and do differently? He's mentioned in his quote that he wants to work with Faf more closely and he's reuniting with him. Do you think that can actually come to some conclusion? Because what Mike Hessen has done, at least, is give us consistency in the top four.
Agreed. So when it comes to Andy Flower, I don't really have anything specific to say when it comes to philosophy, but he knows how to get the basics right, like I mentioned before. It's as simple as that. Getting those things right, getting your role clarity right. I mean, giving role clarity to your players, getting your matchups right. Like I'm talking about in-game tactics. I'm not sure, over like what's the overarching philosophy for Flower, because I haven't followed other leagues just as keenly as IPL. I'm specifically talking about in-game tactics. So yeah, Multan Sultan's winning all of their chases in the last 2 years. There's a reason why. Multan Sultan's having and again, not just Avnish does not like what I have to say of Andy Flower. In fact, he was one of those who wasn't really fine with the recruitment. So I guess this is him showing his discontentment. But yeah, moving on with Andy Flower, his choice of players, he is even with Lucknow, for instance, last year. They approached Taskin Ahmed when they had to replace Mark Wood. They first approached Taskin Ahmed. BCB did not let go of him. That's why they couldn't go. There were talks of blessing Mujzer Rabbani, but apparently, again, these are all speculations here, so we're not sure to what extent. But Mujzer Rabbani was then approached. Again, for some reason, they couldn't get him as well. He was then brought in as a net bowler. And eventually, they had to go to Andrew Ty as a third option.
Third
So
option.
Tuscan, Ahmed, Blessing Mujrabani, these are all names that you wouldn't associate with IPL teams. Like IPL still likes to recruit players based on reputation, based on the nation they are from.
Yeah.
A classic meme of this is Glenn Phillips, if you remember. If his name was Glenn Phillipson, if his name was Glenn Phillips in IK, he would be unsold and stuff like that. That's classic IPL. If you are from England or Australia, you're more often than not guaranteed a spot if you've done decently in BBL account or T20 Blast or something like that. That's not the case with the likes of players from Bangladesh, players from Zimbabwe, players from slightly lesser known countries. This is where I feel
Yeah.
Andy Flower is going to be a lot better. Even this season, last season itself. Sorry, Dushmanta Chamira. That's another
Yeah.
name I forgot to mention. Multan
Yeah.
Sultan's Tim David was completely his call, by the way, getting Tim
Yeah.
David in. So
Yeah.
these are a few recruitment specific decisions that I would like to bring up when it comes to Andy Flower. Again, Tim David is also with him at St. Lucia Zooks, just to bring
Yeah.
that up as well.
Yeah.
So
I think the
Andy,
one way to also example in terms of IPL is a lot of times in the last season you were scratching your head as why is Anuj Rawat the impact player coming in the middle overs? Now that is something you would think that Flower is probably going to do it very very differently. So again, it could still be continued. It depends on what they think of the player. So I think role clarity, getting the right houses for coaches is what I think RCB will expect of Andy.
true.
Let me come in here, guys, because I've moved to my bar for better network, and I apologize to all the dear fans. I think they're taking the piss out of me in the comments. Even Gurkira's joined in the comments. By the way, like and subscribe if you're new.
Yeah,
If
please.
you're enjoying this, let me have my say on this whole scene, right? Andy Flower, yes, on his resume and on his CV, what he's done worldwide, no doubt he's one of those good coaches going out there right now. But I would have liked to see someone comes and galvanizes, and it could be Andy Flower, comes and galvanizes the whole unit. He has to take some big calls, I feel, because there's a lot of questions to be answered in terms of not just the first 11, but it's beyond that. Ideally, from a fan, I want to see more local players. I know that normally doesn't kind of give you instant success or doesn't guarantee success, but at least if you're losing, you still have some people to kind of rely upon, right? Every time they keep changing the management, every time they keep telling the players something else. Chahal said in a recent podcast, and for Chahal to come out and say that, there is, of course, more skeletons to come out of the closet, I feel, because imagine a player who's played for 8 years. Akshay, was it that Chahal played for RCB, and he was
8
probably
seasons.
one of the best match winners, and for him to not get any communication from the management by being let off is shocking. I also feel like I was asking our statsman Anirudh, and I was telling him, listen, can you just list down all the Karnataka players who's played for RCB? I just want to see their records and if it's actually good or bad or whatever. And he told me that, dude, forget the Karnataka players, because if you look at the last 5-6 years, they're not even proper Indians I can give you in terms of who've got a long run. Because you normally think about RCB, think about Virat, you think about Chahal, now you think about Siraj. But apart from that, it's crazy. Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, I wouldn't add them there, but they've always had a familiar engine, a familiar think tank, whatever it is. Chennai is just an exception to every T20 team in the world because they just do things right. But coming back to my Andy Flower point, the fact that he needs to take all of this into consideration and start new, because Mike Hesson was our director of cricket. And if you're sacking him and replacing Flower as a head coach, what happens in terms of the higher ups? What happens in terms of the new staff? Is Sriram going to stay with Adrian Griffith and Malol and Ranganjaj? Only time will tell. So I don't know how it's going to pan out, but I would like for them to at least have a vision for 3-4 years. These are the kind of players we want to get. And simple how even McCullum does it, dude. Like, he's figured out the personnel for baseball. So right now, Andy Flower needs to go there. And look, he'll look around that dressing room and he'll be like, okay, fine. There's Virat, there's Faf, there's Siraj. Those three will have to play because of the fan pressure, because of all the other commercial obligations. And to be fair, they still deserve a go in that starting 11. But apart from them, then you need to, of course, assign roles. Rajat Patidar, God bless him if he's back. Will Jacks is also a good addition, and people are saying that in the comments. But it's about
Maxi.
assigning roles, and the word that Nikhil so often uses, usage, because RCB have had so many great talents. Quinton de Kock, Moeen Ali. I can think of 10 more names who haven't really done well. But it's about time you get a coach who gets into their head and been like, listen, boys, this is the style and this is what we're going to execute. I know it's easy said and done, me sitting here as an armchair critic, but that was my RCB rant.
Yep, and also just before we go ahead, I genuinely feel there's a very common misnomer. I know, I guess this is the RCB fan bias in me that's going to come out. RCB being inconsistent with their selections is a thing of of the past. Like people who say that we haven't given Indians a long rope. See this season itself, Mahipal Lomro, despite having the kind of season he did, where he got a 50 finally in the 12th game he played this season, he still ended up playing each and every game. And not just him, Shahbaz Ahmed in the last 3 seasons has been a regular feature. When Washi was a part under the Hessen setup, he was given a consistent rope, he was given role clarity. So I sort of, agree to disagree that in the last 2-3 years, Indians haven't been given a long enough rope. It's a completely different point that they themselves haven't, converted those chances into something more substantial. That I completely agree. Maybe we backed the wrong players, we placed the wrong bets. Anuj Rawat, for instance, and all of that. Agreed, but I wouldn't agree with the fact that they weren't given a long enough rope. And Anuj Rawat is probably going to be the single biggest bone of contention for all RCB fans alike. Right now, they probably just want to see him outside the squad, and rightly so. I mean, it's not like he's done something to justify the price tag, like 3.4 crores is something that can be spent on someone else. Something that's more useful, someone who can add a lot more value. That's there for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to add that part. Sorry,
No, I mean,
next you.
coming back to my point, sorry, just before I get Nick's in, coming back to my point about the long enough rope, in recent times with Hessen, we've seen it. And hence, the numbers don't lie, right? Or, for example, this particular depiction. And it makes you think if it's just a brutal beast that it is, the IPL. We saw Lara lose his job after spending, 36 crores in the auction. Now you see Hessen finishing sixth and getting the sack. And it is probably, very hostile for any cricket coach to come and conquer the IPL. I'm guessing Justin Langer, if he doesn't do the business in 1 or 2 years, he's going to get the sack. Or if he doesn't get Lucknow in the playoffs, he'll get the sack. So this makes you think, A, if Mike Hessen was our best coach, and I agree with Akshay to a certain extent, the results have been there to see. We've won the most games since 2020 as a franchise, more than CSK, MI, and all of that, but still no silverware. Only time will tell, like Akshay said about Andy Flower. I just want to lead into Knicks right now with regards to SRH, because I know we spoke about it, that Dan Vettori as well coming in and taking the reins over there. How do you see this appointment, Knicks? Because they've had Tom Moody for a long part of their tenure as a franchise, and then they brought him back when that whole situation with Warner and Williamson was going on. They had a shot in the dark, perhaps, with Brian Lara being appointed as coach, having no past experience. And now Dan Vettori, who's done very little, you would say, as coach?
I'll say it's probably an SRH move in terms of how they played last season. Probably just sums up their, I don't know, desperateness. But a very, very interesting is the only word that I can find, because we've known Vittori enough in this setup in terms of IPL and leagues around the world, that he's had his share of ups and downs, uh, which is what tells you that sometimes this entire beast of IPL works very, very differently for different teams. Now, you only have one team in this history who's had a coach to last over 10 years. So it is not going to be easy for people to stick with one thing. They want success. Just to add to the Hessen point, that maybe it was a 5-year vision from 2019 to 2023, kind of, that okay, this is what we're looking at, and maybe it did not meet their own expectations. So from there on to then go to Flower, and for SRH to then, you feel that okay, you'd assume that at least Ryan Lara would get 3 years, that a one cycle of retention, and because now he spent that money with the work that he's done on a set of players, and then suddenly they don't click, obviously. And it's not that they didn't have the people; they had the people; it just did not click for them. So to go from there to then suddenly just change it up just a year into the setup, it just feels a very, I don't know, goes to my personal work experience of being a very corporate kind of a call, that no, we want very immediate success. We can't wait for so long. Bottom finish is not something that we like. So again, these things will not come out in the open in terms of what were the exact reasons. How did they narrow down to Vittori? Whose call was it? Does it keep Muralidharan in the setup? We don't know. So very, very interesting call. Very keen to see if Vittori changes things around in terms of the personnel, because I think SRH still have the personnel. Now, if he can make them click, Nothing like it. There is no right or wrong in that. Maybe this is where the sun rises at last for them and for Vettori.
And for Vettori. I mean, I go back to their success, Akshay, with regards to SRH. You normally associate them as a bowling team. You have those guys like Bhuvi and Ratrapati and now Umran Malik and now Abhishek Sharma and all these new guys. But essentially, because Tom Moody was there, because Kane Williamson was there was that stability about it. They knew exactly how to win games, what modus operandi they were kind of targeting. And because their results haven't been so good in 2021, 2022, so on and so forth, they've just had a turbulent time. Is it the owners pressing the panic button in the case of SRH with regards to, oh, now we panic and we've gone for some complete, like someone not from the wilderness. I know Vettori was just assistant coach in Australia, but that's a real random left field shot for them to just be like, yeah, Dan Vettori's head coach.
Yeah, to begin with, let me just put a disclaimer. Just like Avni said, all of us are armchair critics because what I'm going to say now might sound really harsh, but SRH 2023 was a 101 in exactly how not to use resources. Was a proper 101. Like, I don't think, and this is coming from an RCB fan who'll admit that RCB have been shambolic in the past, but I've seen nothing like what SRH did in 2023. And the fact that this came with someone like a Gaurav Sundaraman also part of the setup. I know a lot of our colleagues will mock me for this because I still like him. I genuinely like what he has to say about cricket, the way he looks at things and all of that. But it was absolutely shambolic. So the panic button was going to be hit. Was it right? 100% not. But was it in some sense justifiable as owners who like Nick said, who look for short-term results? Coming 10th after spending so much money, after doing a complete revamp, isn't something that they would be looking at. What's even more interesting is the fact that during one of those mid-season interviews or press conferences, Lara himself had told that this is a 3-year plan. I'm going to be here for 3 years. I, in fact, wanted to ask our producer to get that up, but I got busy with some other things because I was just thinking about that today when Nick told me that Vettori has actually been signed as Lara's replacement. That was the first thing that struck me. Wait, didn't Lara say like a few months ago that he's going to be here for 3 years? So, yeah, I mean...
And the sad part is, like, even in the auction, he didn't really get his full go. And I understand that sometimes when they're a new coach and they're still trying to keep their cards close to their chest. And the owners, have been kind of not taking any nonsense. At least we get the impression from the outside. Just going back to the whole RCB chat, guys, like, is it a yay or nay from you guys in terms of general consensus right now? Do you think the whole public of Bangalore will open arms with Andy Flower? Do you think that's the perception, Akshay and Nix? Or do you think he'll have to prove himself a little bit? Because Mike Hesson as well wasn't really a fan favorite, right? Despite his results.
Nix, you can start.
See, I think a lot of frustration is there any which ways in Indian cricket at this point of time. I just hope people will be a bit more patient with whichever franchise it is. I think the benchmark may be high, but it's not easy to live up to your own standards, whichever you set for them. So I think what people are good thing is thanks to people also who tune in and they start to see the game differently and they get to see that okay, it is eventually a process driven game. So I think as long as they are able to see that Flower is able to take those right processes in place and the 11s and all are them in the right with the right logic, I think they will give him time. The problem at times arises is of course the lack of communication or just the randomness with which teams are at times going. Like with SRS, we discussed at length about Abhishek Sharma not opening last year and then coming back to open and then doing suddenly well. So those are the calls where the fan really gets agitated that okay, why is if it's so obvious for me, why is the management not thinking like that? So I think with RCB, that openness in terms of okay, this is the lineup, this is how we aim to use it, and with Flower you expect and you trust him to find the right roles for right people. So if people are able to see it, results may not go their way, but I think he will get the support that he may be after.
You know what movie I'm thinking of, Akshay? I'm thinking of Mission Impossible and Andy Flower with that background music, because it's been a Mission Impossible for every coach who gets the RCB job in terms of who and when and how they'll win that first ever IPL. If Flower wins it, I'm pretty sure they'll want to make a statue of him in MG Road or something. Lavelle Road.
100%. MG Road, Lavelle Road, our office, everywhere. We'll have statues set up all over Bangalore for sure. And just one thing to add to what Nick said. I mean, in general, fans, no one will react anything to a coach signing. They'll have to wait. Of course, it's not a high profile name in any which ways. So no one really knows. Like barring people like you and me who actually follow cricket, who know a thing or two about what he's done elsewhere, the average Indian cricket fan or the average RCB cricket fan wouldn't really know much about Andy Flower. So let's wait. I don't think there'll be the jury.
Imagine if it went the other way and they actually appointed Ravi Shastri and had AB de Villiers as batting coach. People would have, tweeted about it, insta'd it. They wouldn't have waited for IPL 2024, I feel. If it
True,
was
that would have been a typical RCB move, which is why I was completely against something like that, and which is why Avnish wanted it badly. Both of us had this chat last week where Avnish wanted Ravi Shastri.
How bad could it get? Because essentially we haven't won shit in 15 years. And RCB could just be needing that cheerleader like Ravi Shastri. He's living up to the name in terms of the brand name and all the booze as well. But jokes apart, though, Akshay, just before we finish this chat, I really want to play out what the fans told us in IPL 2023, of course. It was a roller coaster of a season for RCB because they kept winning and losing, eventually finishing sixth, was it? Which was not pretty eventually. So let's play that clip out, because a lot of fans have got their wish in terms of the Mike Hesson sacking, but lots of them wanted other people. Here's what I mean. Where is that clip?
Mike Hesson needs to go. It's as simple as that. Football managers get sacked. Cricket managers also need to get sacked for the bullshit players they select and the bullshit performance that a team performing on home ground. But this is ridiculous, man.
This is very, very pathetic from management. Please, fans ಇದೀವಿ, ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕೇಳಿ, ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಆಲ್ ದ ಫ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಯಾರ್ಯಾರು RCB ಇದ್ದಾರೋ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ ಕಪ್ ನಮ್ಮದೇ ಅಂತ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಡಿ. ಅವರು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ ಕಪ್ಪು ಗೆಲ್ಲೋ ಥರ ಟೀಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಬರ್ಲಿ. ಎವ್ರಿ ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ಬರ್ತೀವಿ ಸರ್, ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹತ್ರ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಸರ್.
Very simple.
Sack them. Absolutely sack them. We've been ardent RCB fans, we've been coming match after match, all the matches. This is not the way to let us down, yaar. Guys, please play some serious cricket.
Please get new financial advisors. We both are doing commerce. We'll come 4 years, you wait for us, man.
Look, change the head coach first.
ಫ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಕಾಣಿಸೋ ಪ್ಲೇಯರು ಆಡ್ತಾರೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ ಅಂತ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್, ನಿಮಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲ್ವಾ? ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಐ ಆಮ್ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಬೆಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಅ ನೊಂದ RCB ಅಭಿಮಾನಿ.
And that man has, of course, made a lot of good fans and appreciation from the IPL. So good on him and the rest of the fans during our fan camps. Check that out as well. Right, Crick Nerd, Steve Jobs, sports fans, Santosh Odapa, they're all getting chatty in the comments. We'll take all your questions in the 12th man segment at the end of the show. But meanwhile, please just spare 3 seconds of your time right now and like this video. And of course, subscribe if you're new and press the bell icon, because cricket.com has a lot of content coming through. For example, Tuesday, we have 2 things, which is tomorrow. One of them is the watch along, which we've always had fun doing. It's a 30-20, and that'll be 8 p.m. And the other one is a cricket.com classic, and you'll want to watch this because I'll play a little small snippet of it right now. The Indian cricket team went through one of its worst phases ever in 2007.
I felt in 2007 when we lost the World Cup, and at that point of time when we landed, there was no way out. So actually we had to get out in a foolish manner.
Emotions flow high when the national team plays cricket. A group stage exit escalated the rage even further. What followed in the aftermath of the debacle was something never seen before.
Where security had been increased after the match.
Right, that hit your screens at 8 p.m. Beg your pardon, 6 p.m. and the watch along is at 8 p.m. and these boys will be there as well. Right, so with the RCB chat and the IPL chat done and dusted, let's talk about national affairs right now. And I'm not talking about the politics. I'm talking about what's going on in the Caribbean, guys. We spoke about it last night briefly at times because we had to react to all of the shambles going on from West Indies eventually nicking a 2-wicket win. Next, I'll start with you. 2-0 down. What's to dislike? Let's start there with Team India, because some of the selection, some of the thinking has been woeful.
Let's ask what's to like, and that is Tilak Verma. And what's to not like is the rigidness, the combination, the option selected, the captaincy, and that's pretty much everything. It does the short selection also, but then I wouldn't be. It's a very thin line. I think we did this yesterday as well. It's a very thin line between wanting to experiment and not wanting to lose. It's a very very thin line where you are wanting to take a few risks, but then those risks need to be backed by circumstances that back that risk. Now, if you're saying that we are going to be aggressive with the bat, you cannot have four number 11s. It makes no sense on any way in any country on any kind of wicket to then play. You saw the shot Kishan played first ball yesterday, could have been out. And if you have only those many batters, out of which one you don't even trust to bat or bowl, so then you are left with a limited batting order. And then if you are asking them to go hard, it is more likely to fail than to succeed. So I think India have this is possibly like when you very bad example for an IT engineer, that this is like preparing for the worst case scenario, that all of your codes will go wrong, because this is like pushing that what is the worst way to get into this. This is the worst way, is that two openers who have strike rates in mid 10s, mid 110s in the power play. Surya looks out of touch. These are decks not easy to score square of the wicket. There is no pace on the ball. Tilak Verma has thankfully been the only lining star, and Sanju Samson gets 2 games, but it's not been ideal. So suddenly you find that, okay, you wanted this to be a dress rehearsal, but this is far from what you want to view.
Yeah, the only positive, Akshay, is Tilak Verma, because I'm scratching my head right now. We'll come to the openers and their frailties at the top of the order, especially in the power play. But what else can you add to what Nix has said? Because it's worrying times for India, given that the World Cup, T20 World Cup, is just 1 year and less now.
Yeah, true. Just one more positive. Shikhar Dhawan, he's earned a couple of extra bucks. His face is there, on the billboards all around the stadium in Guyana. So yeah, definitely that's another positive. Yeah, outside that, I don't really think this is a series to remember for anyone, barring Tilak Verma, and maybe Mukesh Kumar has a thing or two to remember. But again, nothing. Sab Jawab Milenge was, was how this was built, how the entire series was promoted. I'm not sure, man. I really don't know what were they trying to do. What are they still trying to do with a squad that has absolutely no middle order options, no middle order backup options? They know they have to strengthen their batting. They know they have to elongate their batting, and they have no batting options. Yashasvi Jaiswal has to come in and play out of position if they want to elongate their batting, and that's a very sorry state of affairs. Like, it's not like we have a lack of resources or anything like that. You have plenty of middle order options who've done well in the recently concluded IPL that ended like over a couple of months ago. Even then, if you come up with a squad that's like this, where your best backup lower middle order batsman after Akshar Patel is Kuldeep Yadav, then I'm sorry, boss. You have to think. You have to really, really think. And yeah, like Nick's mentioned, power play has been a struggle, and this has been a continued story. It's not like it's something that we've seen recently in the Caribbean. This has been the case throughout this year. Like across all T20s in 2023, our power play scoring rate has been around 6. And against spin, this goes down to 4.9. We've scored at 4.9 runs per over against spin in the power play this year. Like, can it be any more? I don't want to say pathetic, but it is pathetic. You can't score below 5 and there's just 2 fielders outside the 30-yard circle. Kishan has his... I mean,
And
I'm sorry,
the one guy who did not get out to spin at all in an entire season doesn't make today a starting 11. It is the rigidness that sums up the problem right now.
Sorry.
And it just makes you think about those power play numbers. Let's depict that right now, because look at this in terms of this series, and not just 2 games in, but it shows you the frailties, especially in that overs 1 to 6. You can see West Indies in comparison, even they were kind of better. And India, it boils down to that one man, guys, and he's getting a lot of flack for it, even though 2023 has been pretty fruitful from a Shubman Gill perspective. I know the title of this video says Shubman Lull, and we are, of course, just taking the piss, but nothing really personal. Look at the inconsistency that he's shown so far. And it can happen to any player. I'm not singling Gill out essentially. But why do you think that is A, Nix? And B, do you think it's fair for Gill to cop that much blame because this series has been a truly forgettable one from his perspective?
See, I think you are fair in calling that, it's been a rough tour for Gill, to be very honest. In every game, he's looked very scratchy, and it can happen that it's not like he can't score outside one city or one stadium. It's not like that for any player. You may have personal favorites and all of that, but every player can go through a phase, and it is where you have to partner that player better. Now, what I feel India keep going back to is last time what happened, let's back that, which is good, but then you have to also see recent form. Now, if you pair Shubman Gill with Jaiswal, just in your mind itself, it looks far more balanced in that, okay, Jaiswal is the one who takes the risk while Gill gets in this lineup. Gill is the one who can bat for a longer period of time. It's okay for him to not take risks then. He can bat at his pace. This is what he does in the IPL as well. He has a far more aggressive partner, which allows him to not always look for those on the up. Now, see, the conditions are also tricky. So I'm not saying Jaiswal would come in and just flourish, but the point is at least he'll get far more experience in terms of when the next time he plays there, you'll see what he can do. But for Kishan, it's always been that any which ways otherwise. I mean, he has a cycle of 120 and he's opened the batting on different kind of surfaces. So that is not giving a good feel for anyone. And look at that stat: 28 innings. If your opener is striking it at 111, where is the innings going? You will have that one innings where he will go berserk, which is fine. But is that what you're looking at from that one guy? Because then you are also putting pressure on the other partner. So I think it's again with the obsession of wanting everybody to win an all format player. If Kishan is doing well in ODIs, let's keep him there. And this is the time where you could blood in Jaiswal and see how we can go. My problem with Indian cricket is they take the people and they say, okay, this is in form, but we have an incumbent now, so let's wait for him to get out of form and then we'll play. But by then, that guy's also run out of form. You are not helping anyone then in that case. So it's not that the World Cup is this year. And if Kishan is part of a 50-over World Cup, keep him in that plan, keep him fresh. Try Jaiswal, he'll have better experience next time when he tours. It's just like you're saying the same thing every single time, but it just doesn't seem to enter the bubble that is there.
And even the comments, Akshay, if you just look closer, everyone is just bashing Ishan Kishan, saying he's literally a slow pitch basher. Ishan is useless in T20I, saying sports
But
fan.
why is he a slow pitch basher? Ghana mein kya kiya?
No, I mean, everyone has their entitled to their opinion. I just want to understand if you echo Nix's thoughts. And it's high time we give Jaiswal a go, right? We're 2-0 down on the series. So I'm guessing there will be some changes. I don't know if Kuldeep comes back in because it was a precautionary hit that he took, which made him miss the second T20. Umran Malik, will we see him? So just looking ahead to the third T20 International tomorrow, what are the changes and what are the changes you'd like to see, which is a must? I'm guessing Jaiswal and Kishan surely with Sanju to keep.
But the problem is, again, I'm not justifying it. Maybe, possibly, one reason why they don't want to play Jaiswal is he'll have to play out of position. The only other option is to probably let go of Kishan, but Rahul Dravid or someone in the think tank rates him very highly. That's the only way I can justify him getting an extended rope. And yeah, I agree with Nixon that Gill needs to be paired with someone who can start aggressively. Kishan hasn't done that, and you don't have to go too far back. Just yesterday, the way Gill got out after hitting a six, the very next ball, there was absolutely no reason for him to play across the line to a full ball well out. Again, I shouldn't embarrass myself talking about the technicalities of it, but again, he had to take a risk that doesn't come to him naturally. At least, right up at the starting in the first 5-10 balls, he likes to take his time, but he's not had the opportunity to do that because Kishan hasn't been able to provide those quick starts. Look at Brandon King, look at Kyle Mayers when he gets going. He hasn't so far, but when he does, those are the kind of starts. You don't need to go on to score a 30 ball 50, a 10 ball 20, a 15 ball 25 30. That's all they need. That gives Gill enough time to just have a time, some sort of a sighter, gets him into the groove, gets a feel of the ball, and that's it. Like Nick said, we know Gill loves to play long, loves to play for a longer duration. So let him play. If they want to play Gill, then Jaiswal right now is the right person for him to be paired with, and not Kishan. The Kishan experiment has gone way too long now. And against spin, he has a strike rate of around 80 in T20Is this year again. Against space, he has a strike rate of 115 or so. So I'm not sure where is this going. 115 or 120 against pace and 80 against spin. This is his strike rate against. These are his strike rates against
Yeah.
both types, and this is
And
T20Is.
yeah, and see, you will get a day where Kishan will score a century.
Yeah.
It is a given. He'll do it. But the problem is this at this point of time, what are the chances of it coming off? That is all that you have to measure, and then you have to also see the conditions and the lineup that you are playing. Does that lineup afford you to have a inconsistent top order? I don't think so. So then that is what is warranting you to make those changes.
By the way, Shubham Sharma is desperately trying to get into the comments. I'll read it out. Shubham, if you have any questions for us, we'll take it at the end of this particular show. But he goes on to add in this conversation, guys, I think we're lacking in skills. Other teams have sorted out weaknesses through IPL. They're not bowling at our strengths. We need to send teams to SA20 and the ILT20. That's only wishful thinking. We've been saying that for the longest time on this cricket.com platform, all of us, through watch-alongs, through different videos and all of that. Just to sum up the India chat then, boys, because my quick one on Gill is this. Everyone likens him, I should say, to Virat Kohli, and they're kind of similar in different styles. I think this is another talking point where they're similar. If you look at Virat's success as a T20 international opener as well, when he had to open with Gill, or for example, Faf, he's always had that aggressor at the other end, right? Or for example, he's always had someone to give him impetus at the other end, even from the Indian scheme of things. And I find that with Gill as well. Nick's made the perfect point that Saha is your perfect partner if you're Shubman Gill. And Kishan right now looks sometimes, I hate to say, but a rabbit in front of the headlights. You know, like yesterday as well, you think that this guy is probably playing his 6th or 7th T20. You don't assume this guy is burst on the scene 4 or 5 years ago, right? Or 3 years ago, at least. That 2020 MI season stands out. So where is that Ishan Kishan? He's been showing it in the ODI format. Hope that continues. But in the T20 international format, there will be questions. So hopefully, Jaiswal to make his T20 international debut for India on that Tuesday watch along. Quick predictions then in terms of the series scoreline, because both of you all said for the greater good, India should lose the series. I said that India should win the series 3-2. Do you guys concur, or do you guys still feel that India should get battered 5-0?
Again, just to quote Paji, it is a fickle format. Anything can happen on the day. But my problem is India haven't looked threatening. At many stages, India haven't looked threatening at all. So I would love a 3-2 if India can make a comeback. It will show a lot of character and a lot of depth because of the combination that they're playing at. So in an ideal world, yeah, 3-2 is great. I wouldn't mind 2-2 with rain, or if rain's not coming, then take 4-1.
Okay, Vasantharan saying 4-1, Akshay, in the comments. Do you agree with him?
I feel what's going to happen is, in West Indies will win tomorrow 3-0, unassailable lead. It'll be dead rubbers. The next 2 games in the USA would be dead rubbers. So West Indies might try new players. So India will win both. 3-2. Then in hindsight, it might seem, 3-2 to kiye the na. Not as bad as it seems. मेरे ख्याल से ये होगा.
Okay, guys, super. We love that India segment as well. Let's move on to the best of the rest, which is a segment on the Monday Night Live where we talk about absolutely everything in the week that's gone by in the world of cricket. So let's start. Right, I'll start with a plug-in with regards to the newsletter, which is a weekly thing on cricket.com. The link is in the description below. The lads have been putting it for a while, and it's restarted on the website. So that's a great read. If you guys have just missed cricket, if you guys have gone for a vacation on the beach or on the hill station and you haven't found out what's happened, that will sum up exactly what you need. And speaking of which, one of the star properties and highlights of this week, guys, from cricket.com was that exclusive with Riyan Parag, who was pretty honest to our boy Akash in a very insightful chat. I'll play out a bit from that interview before we can all have our say. And if you guys have missed reading it, check it out as well. It's on our platform, on the app and the website. But here's more on that interview And here's some of the things which he's absolutely startled us when he said it.
Bro, I'll tell you the truth. It's like I can be very macho right now. I can be a very cool dude and tell you that okay, now that bothers me and now that affects me. But then I've learned it the hard way. Like I told you a few minutes back that I'm a very self-centered guy. Like regarding these things, like I keep it to myself. And I've learned it the hard way. 2020 IPL, like I've said in a few interviews of mine, was the lowest point in my career. 2020 IPL, dude, I had the most killer season in 2019 or 18. I forgot when I debuted. 2018. 18, yeah, sorry. 18, 19, yeah. So I was 17. I came onto the scene and I just expressed myself. I had the best season till I've had till now, and I was on top of the world. These guys, what they do in media is like once a new kid comes in and once he performs exceedingly well, right? I got a 50, I got 47 against KK, I got another 40, match winning 40 against Mumbai. They keep like you're the freaking king of the world. Okay, everything still. You don't even have to ask anything. That was all well and good. I didn't take it too badly. I wasn't over the moon. But then next year when I didn't perform, I was like, oh shit. I mean, the people who were just praising me have like flipped like instantly, like a switch. I still remember Dubai, we had a quarantine and our hotel was fortunately very nice. I would just lay down on the beach till like 5 a.m. in the morning, just gazing on stars, knowing like what the hell am I actually doing? Like what's up, or why is everything going so wrong? Because I'm putting the work. I had such a good lockdown in terms of my work ethics, in terms of my diet and everything. Like why is this not working? Why are people trolling me? Why is social media the same dances that I used to do and people used to love it? Why are they hating on it now? Like what is this? The same love for Virat Kohli that I showed when I was just bursting out the scene, and this was before that also. Like people didn't know me then, but then they all loved it. Why are they like backing out now? Like what is the scene? Then I figured out after another season that didn't go well, I was like, okay, there is no point in me reading these things. There's definitely no point in me like taking people's opinions, because they're gonna have opinions no matter what.
I mean, I'll tell you what, guys, that interview blew my mind. So kudos to Akash Subramanian for pulling that off. And props to Riyan Parag as well to just speak his heart out. You understand sometimes the mentality of a cricketer in this modern day age of social media and how he's handled trolls. Of course, it's easy to pinpoint and make people scapegoats of certain teams, but what he's been doing in the Deodar Trophy as well, full hats off to him. He's been scoring runs at a difficult position. Number 5 normally is not the most easiest of positions, but he's been doing all right there, and onwards and upwards for him, because Akshay and Nix, if you look at Riyan Parag, the character and the package that he brings you as a T20 player, and let's start there with the white ball scheme of things. He has age on his side. He's a brilliant fielder. He can pack a punch with the bat. He bowls Kedar Jadhav-esque. But the main point being, he's someone who could really, be the next big thing in Indian cricket. I know we've been saying that and we've been holding it with our bated breath. But what are your thoughts about Riyan Parag in that interview? Let's start there, Nix. Did that open up your mind about Riyan Parag, the cricketer, a little bit more?
I mean, fortunate enough to firstly be in the field and know a lot of players who have shared their part, and I may have directly or indirectly interviewed them at various platforms. So it tells you that everybody is at the end human, but a lot of us as fans sometimes watch sports only for glory, and we have no time for learning or for process. While I'll say that those process and everything does occur very regularly in our as the analysis or opinions, but again, it should never cross a line with an individual. And I think it happens very, very, very often for us as players, that even as a group of people, if you sit down and talk, somebody invariably slips out an opinion which is very personal. That okay, now that he's got this is what he wants to do. Now that we are too judgy and we judge people by only how they end up doing. So if he has a good season, then next year, oh look, success got to him. But do you even know if he's gotten him or if it's something else? Sometimes I think we just love to bring people down for the sake of it. That sometimes we just can't see people expressing themselves because we just feel that You have to do something to be able to express yourself. It doesn't have to be like that. You play the game because you enjoy the game. If you are going to treat it differently when you win or you lose, then there's no point playing. If you play in gully cricket, if you lose one game, do you not enjoy the second one? So it doesn't mean that you don't enjoy your game or you don't express. But we just at times love to take things out of context. Like you take an example of Shikhar Dhawan as well, that sometimes he'll get out or he'll drop a catch and he'll walk out with a wry smile. And then people are like, dude is laughing, he's not serious for the country. And how do you know? By relax, they already have a lot of things to deal with. I think we should stop being body language experts firstly. That oh, this is how his body language is, this is how he wants. Every player has their ups and downs. We should always be having an opinion, which is fine, but that opinion has to have a boundary that we should not cross. At the end, they are players, we are fans. We can talk about the game, we can talk about whatever we want to, as long as we know that boundary. It's not that you don't know. You know when you're going personal and when you're commenting on a game. So whatever his game is, there can always be improvement for everybody. You go from the newest guy who's made his debut yesterday to the guy who's played over for 20 years. But sometimes it's just how we see things and what we want to see more than how things are.
Yeah, I think you've summed it up absolutely brilliantly. Akshay, you come in here because the people in the comments are really enjoying this conversation by the looks of it. Doodle Hacks with Vasant going on to say, spot on, Nick. Santosh Urupa saying he's been sponsored by Red Bull just like KL. Sagar Dalwani had 2 points to mention. He said Riyan and Hardik are kind of same. They sometimes get more trolling than they deserve, but they also have the attitude which isn't right when it has to be. He goes on to say trolling them is wrong, but also them trying to portray themselves as big things and trying to be creative in the sport isn't right. And look, players aren't robots. That's all I would say to that comment, Sagar, because ultimately we understand that even Virat Kohli, for example, when he was having that period from 2016 to 2019, he's just scoring hundreds for fun. And ever once if he has a little blip, people are just like, oh, he's not scored 100, and it's tough because you as a sports person are setting your standards so high. And in Virat's case, it's just the ceiling is just about to burst. And if you even dip slightly, like the dip we've seen in the last 3 years, people are just not having it. And it goes back to that point that Nick was mentioning. We look at sport and we appreciate the stars more than the sport itself, which is weird. I want to share what you have to say about Riyan Parag, but just before, Pranav Anand has slipped into the comments saying, a comedian once said, half of Tendulkar's success is Tony Gregg. I think half of Parag's hate is Andrew Tate Lamau. Personally, I really like Parag. Since I first watched him, he's everything India needs. Now, go on with that and tell me about Riyan Parag. Personally, from you, where does he stand? And do you think he's knocking in the Indian door anytime soon?
Based on what he's done so far in the IPL, surely not. And again, I completely agree with Nix. All of us are entitled to an opinion, but our opinion should strictly be to whatever he does on the field. That is his performances. If you want to have an opinion, that is what he does off of it or how he is. Again, we're not body language experts. We're not someone, we shouldn't really bother into all of that. And talking about his on-field performances again, that's where he's left a lot of room to desire. I genuinely like him, especially when he initially burst onto the scene. I really liked him. I completely agree that all of the hate he gets online and all of that is unwarranted. Okay, if not all, most of it. But that doesn't give him the get out of jail free card because he's not come up with the performances. That's it. Like there is a very clear line between receiving online hate and all of that, and I have all the sympathy in the world for him when it comes to that. But yeah, he's not really delivered much when it comes to IPL. Of course, he's been scoring runs for fun at the domestic level, be it the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy, be it the Vijay Hazare Trophy last year, be it the Deodar Trophy now. He's been fantastic, but he's yet to convert it at the IPL. And that's
just to add to Akshay's point, that a lot of the problem is also why people feel that what do RR see in him that they want to back him. See, it is a case with every team around the world. I keep going back to your captain of your national team right now. How many of you saw in 2012 that Rohit Sharma would become the ODI player that he is today? You don't. It's not. If everybody could see the future, we would not all be doing this. we would do so many other things while also covering cricket. So I think every team has their things that they want to try out. It will work. It will not work. In Riyan's case, I feel, as Akshay said, firstly, I feel he's been thrown down the gauntlet by in terms of asking to do the most difficult job that there is in limited overs format. You are asking a guy to nail the number 6, number 7 spot or the number 5 spot. It is any which way troublesome. Your national team is suffering for a player for that role for over a decade now. So it's not going to be easy to do that. And yes, when he's got a rope, sometime in the recent times, I think he got to bat at number 4 quite often. It did not come up for him. It's okay. That's where you can start to say that, okay, now he's getting a good spot, but he's not doing well. So maybe now is the challenge for Riyan and RR to come together and find out that, okay, for the other, number 5 worked for me in the ODI format. What is the right role for me? Because there is age on his side, he can still afford to go off, work on his skills, and then get back into the game. But that doesn't give us also a free pass ki bhai, what is in it. And because some of the things with Riyan Parag have also been very, very mainstream in terms of the people who have talked about him and how they have talked about him. So if a kid is enjoying his time off the field, I don't think we should comment on that. On the field, yes, you are free and should always talk what you feel about it.
Just to conclude, sorry, just one point. I would like to quote what Rahul Dravid has said. I'll just paraphrase what he said in one of his talks, where he spoke about Virat Kohli. Someone asked him, why is Virat Kohli so in your face, so aggressive, and all these tattoos and all of that? And Rahul Dravid made this brilliant point, which I completely agree with. All of us do what works for us. What works for me is to stay calm, is to be within my space, is to look at what's working for me, what isn't. For Virat Kohli, the aggression, knowing that these people want to rile him up, sledging, all of that works for him. That doesn't mean that it'll work for everyone else. Tomorrow, if Rahul Dravid goes around tattooing himself, again, this is him saying, if he goes around tattooing himself and being in your face, it wouldn't work for him. Indra Nagar Ka Gunda is just an ad, and that's all it'll always be. He can't be that person. So just be authentic to who you are, and that's what Riyan Parag is doing. That's who he is. Unfortunately, he's received a lot of flack for that, and that's completely unwarranted. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, points to be considered, definitely. Only time will tell the future of Riyan Parag with that whole RR scheme of things. All I know, going back to the whole RCB chat, at a drop of a hat, Akshay, I'd take Riyan Parag, eyes closed at RCB right now. I don't know about the rest. Maybe other franchisees, Gurkirat will probably take him at DC, who knows. But Riyan Parag certainly is a great thing to, of course, pay attention to in the near future. And if you guys want to hear more of that interview, you guys can check it out in terms of the written piece on the cricket.com website. Right. What else has happened in the world of cricket? Well, there's the 100.
Just one thing, Avnish. Sorry to cut you in between. Riyan Parag might not have converted his performances into the IPL, but guys, we can convert our viewership into likes. 32, 33 of you watching, 23, 24 likes. Please get the likes up. Really sorry. Came on top of my head. I thought I should just get those bad jokes out. So yeah.
No, man. Words of wisdom in a Monday Night Live. You can't get better than that. But just coming back to the best of the rest, what has caught your eye, guys? Because I have something which I'll play out before you tell me all the stuff which has caught your eye. I'll start with 100. I saw a match last night, and it went down to the wire. 138 played 138, and it came down to a situation where Tom Curran heaves it on the leg side, runs the first one, comes back for the second. What looked like a run out, surely it should have gone against the Oval Invincibles, but it turned out to be a tie. So I don't know what the third umpire was doing, but then the other angle showed me that, look, essentially he was there with various margins. So that caught my eye. What else is there to talk about, or you guys want to talk about in the best of the rest scene?
Next I think you cannot not talk about Chris Jordan's 70. Incredible knock that. See, the RCB fan is already laughing, smiling. See, the thing is, there is a lot of cricket happening. Andy Russell has been part of another successful campaign in some part of the world. The GT20, which is good. You had people taking wickets in for fun in the LPL, where one game is 190, other game is two teams competing for 190. So I think a lot of cricket is going on, which is good. But I think 100 in that sense just catches the eye for the crowd that is involved, which I think it's a good way. Unfortunate that the women's games have been rained out more because I don't know why there has been under them. As of now, Morris has taken 5 wickets, and Sophia Clister, my captain, has taken 4. So one of the few good things that have worked in the recent times.
Yeah, rain's actually ruining the women's game, which is sad. But look, I tuned into the 100, Akshay, because There's Ravi Shastri on comms with Nasir Hussain, which is always a dream sort of commentary hearing. There's also Stuart Broad and DK at times, which is also good to hear. And I'll play that video out in a bit. But what else caught your eye? Spriti Mandana, you were going to talk about her?
Exactly. I mean, how can an RCB fan not bring Smriti Mandana up? She started off really well, and what's been even more pleasing is the way she's handled off spinners, which was pretty much what got her throughout the WPL. And it's so good to see her be her true attacking self, going after spinners, doing what she does, and yeah, that's been really really good to see. And with the 100, what Nick said, I feel it's friendly for the crowds, but I don't think it's made for the TV viewing audience, man. It's the graphics. I don't know what is it. It's just very complicated. It's very maybe it's the conventional cricket purist in me that
Bottom line, it is England. So they are always given a free pass to void an Ashes, to come out and say that overage fines are wrong, because what works for them is what is right. That's all.
Correct.
That's
100%.
true. And essentially, they're selling it in their own typical ECB style. I know the format's completely different. So that's why even if you look at the scorecard, like Akshay said, you're just like, what is happening here? A set of 10 balls and then different words and all of that stuff. But it's fun. And there was Shaheen and Harris stuff. And there's some good cricketers who play in the 100. Well done there. The LPL also, like Nick's mentioned, has definitely got an eye for one reason more than the other. Let me play you this clip. Now, this is what happened out there, guys. Essentially, a snake in the field, which is absolutely ridiculous. Seeing it right now through video gives me shivers because I'm definitely phobic about the snakes and all of that. What are the weird and wonderful things you guys have seen on the cricket pitch before compared to this? Because I had to put this out and ask the people in the comments as well if they've seen something stranger than a 10-foot cobra or whatever that is. I mean, look at that. Imagine you're standing in, I don't know, deep extra cover. Oh my God, it's just going to go into your cricketing gear, dude. That's just ridiculous. That is madness. I mean, God bless them and the ground staff over there. Nick, have you seen something more dramatic or equally scary?
I don't think anything beats that kind of experience too. So hopefully never having that. One of the weird, of course, you can not talk about the car on the pitch in the domestic circuit. The one game that I feel was very, very ironic was Sun stops play in New Zealand, where you had a sun, the reflection of sun coming straight into the batter's eyes, and so they had to wait for the sun to set for them to continue the game. It's just sums up cricket that anything and everything, if you exist, you can pause cricket. That is the power that cricket gives to you.
Seriously, I remember that ODI. I think it was Napier, was it? I don't know. I might be wrong, but yeah, Napier comes to mind. The Palam ground as well with the Wagoner. And when Gautam Gambhir and Nishant Sharma is like, what the hell's happening? Streakers come to mind. Dogs, of course. I think in that part of the world, Sri Lanka, we've seen quite a few dogs as well. A black cat, I think. There was a scene once in Sri Lanka again. But one which stands out for me, Akshay, and I don't know if you can top this, is you remember a certain South Africa pink one-day international game where there was a bunch of bees which just stormed the ground, so much so that it just sat on everything pink, and all the players wearing pink, and they were really shitting bricks. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it's available on YouTube. That is something the most bizarre I've seen apart from the snake in the Lanka Premier League. Have you seen something more stranger than this?
Nothing really. But yeah, the last year's pink ball test at Bangalore, the India Sri Lanka one, that had a streaker, so I got to see a streaker live. So that's pretty much it. I don't think, I mean, since you guys watch it on TV, I saw it live. Maybe that's pretty much it. But like sports fan mentioned Jarvo, of course. How can we not mention Jarvo and his entire gear? And oh man, that was pretty hilarious.
I mean, that to be very honest, I think that is the one thing that actually scares me a lot.
Yeah.
That as a fan, if you are to enter, you feel like you have been checked through everything. But suddenly with streakers, it feels like, wow, how do they even get to that? How do they get to those excess? And then sometimes it's celebrated, which I think it's not the right way to go. That you can't be celebrating somebody having like of those occurrences. But yeah, we like entertainment. That's what.
I mean, we've seen it all in the game of cricket. In fact, Pranav Anand going on to add to this chat saying once Nathan Land burnt a toast, which led to smoke and caused stoppage in play in a domestic game, which is hilarious.
There's
Guys, look,
one thing
go
on
on.
that, like one interesting incident, something similar to this. This was way back in the 90s. Daryl Cullinan was playing. He apparently pulled a short ball for a six, and that went straight and lodged itself into a barbecue. Someone was doing barbecue, and the ball actually lodged between two completely hot barbecue tongs, and it practically
No.
melted away. It seems, and they had to. That was something.
That's insane. By the way, Santosh Urapa saying streakers interrupting the play in Australia. Simons once put
Oh,
them to
yeah.
ground. Yeah, we remember that for sure. And just before we wrap up best of the rest and move on to the 12th man segment where we take your questions, keep them coming through the comments. We'll pick the 3 ones, which are the best ones. And there's also merchandise free one in the final segment called Howzzat. Before we wrap up, there's a real strange comment, which I'm understanding right now. Thoughts on Shafeen Rutherford receiving half an acre of land in the USA in the post-match presentation. Did that actually happen, Pranavana? And do you guys know anything about it? Nix?
I don't know much more than him getting it, which is good. I mean, what is to say?
I
Like
know
imagine
of
that
it. Yeah.
in the IPL, Akshay Carbon Kamal land of the catch or whatever. You want to just dish out acreage and real estate property.
That would be insane. That would be really insane.
Yeah. By the way, Charan Reddy saying earthquake in Allur. I don't know if that's a random left field shout, but God bless anyone who's there. Let's move on to, of course, your part of the show, the viewers, because we're going to take all the questions in this segment, the 12th man. Right, so there's a lot of comments, which is, of course, gone on with regards to RCB and all of that. I'll just try to pick out a few right now. Let's take one from Pranav Anand, who's been quite chatty, which is good to see. Now, boys, he asks us, do you really think India can have a 5 top-class T20 bowling options, even if Bumrah is back? So why are we playing with that template? Why can't we play all available batters and make Jaiswal and Tilak bowl? Next.
Disclaimer, I could be wrong with this hypothesis, but I feel Hardik is trying to do a Gujarat Titans with India. That he wants to have a bowling attack, a bowling attack-led side where you have a lot of depth, variety, lesser options, but more potent options. But the problem with that is, as ridiculous as it may sound, it is not possible to get together an attack which has the variety and potency that Gujarat Titans have managed to acquire. A bowling attack of Josh Little, Mohammad Shami, Rashid Khan, it doesn't happen. I mean, it's not very common. Even if you talk about your national side, personally, you'll have to shed the think about wanting all format players. So you'll have to get into that mode first, and then get 5 very good top class bowling options. But even those options, one is Rashid Khan. It just tells you how good and how handy he is also with the bat for you to make up for whatever stutter that you may have. And in that lineup, then your top order has to do a lot of heavy loading in terms of one of your top 3 has to invariably always bat 12-13 overs, which is what Gill has done for them. So it's a fair way to try, but the problem is, as Pranav rightly points out, we don't have Bumrah. You're resting Siraj. Your bowling attack is not as potent as it may seem to you on paper. So you will need to have the 6-7 bowling option, which is where again the usage of Akshar Patel. That West Indies have 3 lefties in the top 6. If you think that he cannot bowl to lefties, why play him at all? Because there is no way that you can tell that he'll only bowl to righties. It's not possible. So it's a very tricky thing to get to, like 5 very good bowling options. And invariably, I think we will see Jaiswal, Tilak or somebody else start to come into the setup who can bowl and bat in the top 5. Because other which ways you're always going to, and see, invariably you'll have to compromise somewhere. You have to have that balance, which is why we've always been cotton bowling Hardik Pandya, because there is nobody else like him in the ODI format also. Or in the test, we tried to push him. So it's not easy to get good quality all-rounders. So you'll have to strike a good balance.
Yeah, that's a fair answer. Akshay, you take this one from Deepak Madharu, who goes on to say, is Ishan Kishan still selected in T20 internationals only because he's a backup opener now in the ODI World Cup?
I mean, I'm not sure if that would be the only reason. I'm not sure if that's even a reason. Uh, I want to believe Rahul Dravid and the entire think tank is smarter than that. They really like Kishan. They really rate him high. And yeah, in his defense, in this tour, barring the two T20, he was more than competent in the Test series and the ODIs. He didn't do anything to not to justify an ousting of him. So he's done enough to retain his spot, and that's pretty much what they've done. So all of us talking about Kishan is only of his performances in isolation. We understand why he got into the T20 side in the first place because of how he did in the across the tour. So yeah, I mean, I don't think so. He's in the T20 as only because he's a backup opener for sure. That wouldn't be the reason.
Yeah, I just generally think India playing Ishan Kishan as much as possible to just keep him well oiled. That's the only particular one. We'll take a couple more ones. The cricket fan has posed one from Nikhil, which I'll just showcase. But Sarvanan has been putting this throughout the show. I can't ignore him. Good old Sarvanan. Like this particular video, Sarvanan, if you want us to answer more of your questions going forward in the Monday Night Lives. Now, he's just made a statement, not a question really, and we can just maybe agree or disagree here really quickly because we're running out of time. He goes on to say SRH needs to take Yuvraj Singh or Virendra Sehwag as batting coach and mentor to communicate and encourage Indian young players because of the language barrier for the foreign coach. But SRH have always had foreign coaches, right? So it's about more than that. Do you guys agree with Sarvanan over there?
Next, you can start.
Yeah, I think the communication part can be taken care of in terms of how they want to go about it and what they want to go about it. It's about what the people who come on board add value in whichever way, shape, and form. I'm sure language is very, very critical. So I'm sure the franchise, even existingly, would be taking enough care that the right things are communicated to the player in the right way. So I hope you'd assume that is not a problem, that because we've heard in the past of the bit like you need local coaches to get the knowledge of local players. So I'm sure every team now has a pool of scouting talents and people who are part of the setup who are accustomed to the local and the natives. So I think that should be taken care of by the existing setup.
Okay, Akshay, I'll let you skip that one. In fact, take this one from Santosh Shodappa before I come back to Nick's and that cricket fan question. What's your thoughts on this? Because he asked a good one, Santosh Shodappa. I'm guessing he's a huge avid RCB fan. Do you agree with him here?
I mean, not really. Like in the last 4-5 years, we have come up with decent enough, talents. Shabaz, Rajat, Devdutt, technically, Harshal Patel. Like again, we have to remember that Harshal might be, playing the IPL for the last 10 years, but only when he came into RCB in 2021, given the role clarity. I wouldn't say, okay, that was maybe more of SN and not Malo. But yeah, he's fine, man. I mean, it's not like he's done anything. And scouting and all, there's only so much of scouting that eventually leads to in-match tactics and all of that. So you can remove all the scouts in the world and it would still make no difference whatsoever to how you're playing on the field. If you want to send DK against leg spinners, I don't think Malo scouting Avinash Singh Manhas from Kashmir or not scouting him will help you with that. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything.
Just to add, great example even of Gaurav as an example with SR is that as an analyst also sometimes you may be giving your own suggestions, but at this point of time you have no clue which way or how those are taken and implemented by the franchises. So it's very, very subjective, I feel, both
True.
in terms of the data bit and the scouting thing.
Yeah, we can only second guess as fans. Sometimes I keep saying that like a broken tape recorder, but that's true. Cricket fan going on to say then, hi Nikhil, do you think India will give chances to Samson in the third T20 international after 2 consecutive bad performances for him in both the games?
If I want Kishan to not be opening, then there is no other keeper to keep apart from Samson. So that just invariably means that you give Samson enough game time. See, my bottom line with selections is you give people more games and then be sure rather than give less and regret. So give them a longer rope. First, give them a good clarity. Then give them a long rope. X number of games, they don't work out. It's fine. You give the number, they know the number. Then you move on from there. So in this series, I'm expecting all 5 games for Samson because I don't think he's going to be part of the ODI setup. He gets the 5 games, then we take a call after those 5. It should still not be immediate. So you have to take care of pitches and combination, everything in, but you'll expect longer rope for people, because if one guy gets it, the other should also get it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people listening in Kerala would have definitely followed Knicks right now, because all they wanted to hear, play Samson for the remaining games in the series, and I fully agree with him. Just to wrap up 12th man, 2 more coming through passionately. One from Archit Ariman. He goes on to say, if the team management can work on Tilak and Jaiswal's bowling, it'll benefit from the team a lot. Nishant Sindhu, with a few more years of work, can also be a very good addition in the side. I won't spill the beans of what Nishant Sandhu ordered apparently to the Alur ground when in Pondicherry when Akash was doing that Riyan Parag interview, but I'll leave that there. And Sagar Dalwani just finishing up by saying, if you want to see favoritism, Rahul Chahar is a case study. He was pushed by Rohit in 2021 World Cup ahead of Chahal, but post-World Cup, he's nowhere near the setup. Just to add, he doesn't play for MI anymore. So look, you guys have had your say, the 12th man. Thanks so much for getting chatty with us in the comments, and we're always going to be doing this in the Monday Night Live. It's a proper feature, just like our final segment, which is of course called How's That, where of course the duty will be passed on to my friend Akshay Kumar Swami, because he loves being quizmaster. What do you have for us and the fans in this one? But before I let you go, we have to announce the winner from last week. So kudos to whoever's won. You have the names, right? You have the names.
Yeah. First, let me announce. Let me say what the answer was. Then we can see if there were any winners or not. I do remember that there was a winner. Unfortunately, let me just confirm the name. But yeah, the answer for last game, for last MNL's Howzzat was Virat Kohli and Harry Brook. And just to remind you the question, we basically put up a chart that had the top 10 test batters of 2023, and there were two dots highlighted in blue, while the remaining were highlighted in red. So yeah, the two blue dots were Virat Kohli and Harry Brook. So Virat Kohli has the best control percentage of any batter, of any test batter so far this year, minimum 500 runs scored. And Harry Brook has the best strike rate of any test batter, minimum 500 runs scored. So that was the answer. And I know that there was someone who got it right. If our producer could help us out with that, in the meantime, I can probably go on to this episode's question. It'll be easier instead of me trying to multitask and yeah, embarrassing myself again.
Okay, fair. We'll announce the winner, because there are lots of people who got it right.
We'll announce it for sure over the course of this episode itself, before we finish this episode. And Chachan, thank you so much. He says, look forward to see more editions of MNL. 100%. All of us are game to talk about cricket day in, day out. The sad part is we only get to do it once a week. We're more than happy to do it every day. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The plan initially was to do it like every day, but then we were like, no, we'll kind of make it novel and give it a weekly spin on it, which is good. So just going back to the competition this week, guys, this is what Akshay has prepared. I'll put up the depiction and then you can talk them through the rest, Akshay.
Yep. So yeah, guys, so this wagon wheel is of a certain player's knock. I want you guys to let us know this wagon wheel represents which player's innings. It's an iconic IPL century. These are the hints. You don't know what are the runs scored. All you know is it's a century. It was scored in the IPL. And yeah, the strike rate, the only numbers I've let be are the strike rates. So he had a strike rate of 304 on the leg side and just 130 on the offside. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So this wagon wheel represents which player's IPL century. That's all I'm asking for. The player name and the innings. That's it. And coming back to previous...
If you look at that wagon wheel, I don't know if you guys should buy into the clues around the stadium, because it looks like a Cubbon Park in a Mantri Altius, but I might be wrong. It just might be a Photoshop image that our graphic designers have used somewhere. So let us know in the comments if you guys can get that. You can rewind and then check out that particular wagon wheel and understand where the batter scored his runs as well. Yeah, go on, Akshay.
Yeah, two things. So guys, make sure you've hit the like button and subscribed. Only then would you be eligible to win the merchandise. We already see a couple of, answers coming in. Next, do you want to sort of venture a guess?
Yeah, you said IPL. Otherwise, I was happy to confuse more with maybe Basball, Fakhar Zaman, Mohammad Rizwan, who knows? But
That's why I don't want to keep it too vague, because it could have been Italy versus Romania and someone would come up with names from there. So I'll just, for the sake of their own simplicity, and yeah, guys, we are also generous. We genuinely want you guys to win our match. So please come in with your predictions. So next, any guess that you have?
yeah, the strike rate of 130 is what keeps you hooked into. So could be Baz, could be Gale, could be Sean Marsh,
Interesting.
cannot be
True.
Gill. So that's how you go eliminate.
Interesting. Let's hope they eliminate and get to the right answer. So last year's winner, unfortunately, this is a
Last
very
week's
complicated.
Last week, not last year.
last
Beg
year.
your pardon. Beg your pardon. We've not done enough Monday Night Lives. Let's hope we also get to sing last year someday. But yeah, the name of the username of the winner is at user hyphen SX5SI5MR6C. I'm really sorry. Really sorry if I got the username wrong. But congratulations, you got it right. It's Virat Kohli and Harry Brook. So do get in touch with us on Twitter, or you can, if possible, if that username could just comment again and get in touch with us somehow. We'll make sure we have it. We'll have the merchandise sent over to you. Avnish, you can take it forward.
Yeah, essentially, DM us on Twitter, user 5SX516MC, whatever your username is. And also, consolidation for Nagraj Reddy, who came close, but I guess the username who got it right is the one that we're
First.
giving merchandise to.
Yeah.
He commented first, to be clear.
Please clear Pranav's doubt also. It can be a lefty also, and you can show outside on the right side and
Correct.
leg side on the
Exactly, guys. It's a generic wagon wheel. Just to be clear, if it can be a left-hander as well. So don't consider. Don't get into that. It can be anyone. Sorry, Pranav. It hasn't become any more easier. This is all easy. It can get. It's a century in the IPL, and I've also said iconic. So yeah, it has to mean something if I've said iconic. So yeah.
Guys, look, we've gone way over time, but that's how we kind of do it on Monday Night Live. And there's more of it because next Monday, there'll be a lot of chats leading up to Independence Day. That'll probably be an Indian-centric one. And you never know what life will throw it at you because we have so many words of wisdom. I'll end with Pranav Anand because I really like this comment. Life is like a box of Duke's balls. You never know what you'll get. But look, I can rest assured that you get some fantastic content. Monday, we're sorted. Tuesday, tomorrow, like I said, the classic is out at 6 p.m. 8 p.m. we'll be doing the watch along. And of course, Good Kirat show on Thursday. And plenty of fun along the way. Nikhil Popat, Akshay Kumar Swami, it's been a pleasure once again to just chat cricket with you all. It's been a brilliant show. And like Akshay has been harping all show, gentlemen and ladies, boys and girls, like this video, subscribe if you're new, and of course, share it to all your cricket friends, family, and the rest of the fraternity. I'm Avnish Hegde. I'm out of here. We'll see you guys next week. In fact, on the Monday Night Live, but the watch alongs tomorrow, like I said.
Cheers.